When I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and today I'm going to start out with telling you how I found out. So like I said, I was 10 years old, and I went into the doctor, and basically I had to have a new doctor because my old one went back to medical school. I had had the old lady since birth, so I was a little bit nervous. But the new lady really helped me out a lot. She came in, she said, "You're very small." That was the first thing she told me, and I kind of laughed about it at the time. But she was very serious. She took one look at my charts, and she looked up at me and she asked me a variety of questions. "Are you having these symptoms? Are you having these symptoms?" And I said, "Yes." And my mom said, "Wait a minute. I thought it was just genetic. Do you think there's a problem?" And the lady said, "Yes, ma'am. I think your daughter needs to have her thyroid checked for hypothyroidism. I don't think she's making enough hormone." And I went and had my blood test done, and that's how I found out that I had hypothyroidism. And I had a lot of questions, and today I'm going to answer those questions that I had. What is it? What are its symptoms? And why was I not diagnosed for so long? Hypothyroidism is a condition in which the thyroid gland is not able to produce enough thyroid hormone, so you don't grow properly because there's not enough growth hormone circulating. It mainly happens in women. It can happen in men, but it's not as common. It's almost rare to have a male with hypothyroidism. 4.6% of the U.S. population has hypothyroidism. 12% have it at some point in their life. So pregnant and menopausal women usually have this problem, and it usually goes away on its own because of the pregnancy or because of the hormones. This leads me to symptoms. Hypothyroidism usually comes with a variety of symptoms that are noticeable, but they're common. So a lot of people, which is the first problem that people usually have, people feel tired and fatigued constantly. People are also very depressed and irritable, which is very common symptoms. People with hypothyroidism usually have to have depressive screenings and anxiety checks, and usually that's one of the main problems as well. It's a list, but they're all common. Insomnia. People with hypothyroidism usually don't sleep very well. Their sleep-wake cycle is usually very off, and they more than likely, when their thyroid is not regulated, have to be taking melatonin. Weight gain. A very common thing with adults with hypothyroidism is weight gain, because at some point in their life, when the thyroid goes off, their metabolism is lowered. So the weight gain comes in because you're not burning the calories that you were before. And constipation usually follows that as one of the main symptoms with the weight gain. It usually happens at once. These symptoms are particularly why doctors don't really make the connection right away. It usually mimics other symptoms and other disorders and problems. So depression, okay, you have a depressive disorder. Anxiety, you have an anxiety disorder. 13 million people are thought to be undiagnosed. People don't connect the dots. They assume it's normal, genetic. In my case, I sat in that doctor's office and I thought I was just short. My doctor for 10 years, she thought I was just short. We just assumed it was a genetic trait, that I would just be short my whole life. There was no problem with it. Doctors usually only solve the symptoms. My doctor that I had for 10 years, she knew that I wasn't sleeping well. She said, "Okay, try melatonin." She knew I was kind of irritated. She said, "Okay, well, don't irritate her." And they just don't really think, "Oh, well, it must be a thyroid disorder." It's not the first thing in doctors' minds with all of everything that could be wrong with a child. Especially just a child. It's usually a more adultish disorder. Or usually teenagers get it. They don't want to do labs. You have to have labs done, so a blood test done, to be diagnosed with a thyroid disorder. And they don't want to have to send you in for unnecessary testing, because usually when you get sent in for a thyroid disorder, they want to check a variety of things. They want to see if you have diabetes, thyroid disorder, parathyroid. There's so many things that they could say, "Oh, well, we're just going to test everything." And that's usually the case, especially with me. They tested a lot because they wanted to see exactly what the problem could be. In summary, hypothyroidism is a lack of hormones. It causes a variety of symptoms, and they're treatable, but a lot of people just treat them and don't really solve the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. They just go away for a while because the problem is the thyroid. If you feel fatigued, depressed, sluggish, request to have your thyroid checked because you could be solving the overall problem instead of the symptoms. Thank you.